ICM 561 Chapter 1 is about Introduction to Web Archiving. Basically, the chapter will cover what is web archiving, basic concepts in web archiving, types of web archiving, and why archive the websites. What is web archiving? We go to the definitions of web archiving. According to New 2012, the web archiving is the process of gathering up digital materials from the web, ingesting it, ensuring that these materials are preserved in an archive, and making the collected materials available for future use and research. In short, we can define web archiving as creating an archival copy of a website either in a snapshot format or any other format that can be retrieved back the website version in the future. Web archiving process started from the initiatives of library practitioners in 1996, and mostly of them were then initiated the Internet Archive Group. As World Wide Web content of terabytes or exabytes of web document, web archiving process cannot be neglected and it continue evolve its function not only for web preservation purposes but also for web knowledge discovery. The best practice of web archiving is delivering a snapshot file document which is a copied content that assure in a quality of web preservation format within ISO 28500-2009, which namely as WARC file. Most important content to archive are government, documents, educational profiling and certification, and historical informations. Let's go to the term and some keywords that can familiarize you with the web archiving concepts. Web archivist is a caretaker of web archiving process or project. It is responsible for assembling, cataloging, preserving, and managing valuable collections of historical information. Web crawler is a software that harvesting the web which travel across the web and within website, copying and saving the information as they go. Web crawler do not only apply to web archiving, but also web harvesting that only capture selected web object on the website. Web archiving easily be implemented through surface web, while hardly to harvest on deep web. The surface web is the portion of World Wide Web content that may be indexed by search engines, which is also known as the visible web. The surface web consists of all web-based content that can be found in search engines, while deep web are the part of the net that not been indexed by search engine, such as huge volume of databases, FTP servers, private web pages, and other password-protected content. Using metadata, web archive content can be described one by one or per items. It includes a structured description of the essential attributes of an information object, such as the URL, website title, website owner, archive date and time, number of files, and website size. Metadata allows people to locate and view web archive content as information or even knowledge. Items with little or poor metadata may never be seen and can become lost. New 2012 again describes simple web archive workflow which consists of appraisal and selection, acquisition, organization and storage, and description and access. Another example of web archiving workflow taken from the NRS Web Continuity Service Process Model, which started with website selection to capture, an agreement of web owner, preparation of seed list, and web crawler turns on accordingly. Then verification of web archive content completeness, either missing file and error will be verified. All completeness and error needs to be rectified immediately and go through another quality assurance verification and approval. Then only approved quality assessment web archive will be deposited in long-term preservation web archive as WARC file. Lastly, the web archive content will be publicly accessible class, take note also these three terms which may improve your understanding on web archiving workflow process. Deposit here means repository to store web archive content, while automatic harvesting crawlers attempt to download part of the web according to the schedule setting. Selection, negotiation, and capture are the process in which web resources are selected, then their inclusion is negotiated with the site owners, and finally it is captured. Another example of web archive workflow authorized by Bavarian State Library that encompasses similar steps such as website selection, request for archiving authorization, approval, quality control, and harvesting, but here they include cataloging steps, which the website content been cataloged using Bavarian Library Network Union Catalog. So, please take note there are varieties of a workflow process available. You may refer. But to initiate the web archive, it depends on your scopes and aims of the web archive projects. Let's move to the section 1.3. We talk about types of web archiving. There are various types of web archiving approach and methods described by researchers. Braga 2011 differentiate between macro versus micro archiving. Macro archiving is on a large scale by institutions aimed for cultural heritage preservation purpose, while micro archiving takes place on a smaller scale by individual or group of researchers. Nelson 2016 defined three methods for archiving large materials such as web archiving via web crawlers, harvesting via API, and delivery from producer. Three main technical methods for archiving web content were described as client-side web archiving, transaction-based web archiving, and server-side web archiving. Liu 2012 then explained three approaches to organize and store archive web content: local file, system web-based archive, and non-web-based archive. Figure in this slide shows how web archive via crawler has taken place. The web crawler or sprider is made to systematically move around the web, start on main page in the domain, and continue by following all links, and on the way collect, analyze, and download information from the web server. The crawler recursively able to crawl following embedded hyperlink to some web depth such here until 3 layers of a web depth. Harvesting via API. Web archive or harvest data from Application Programming Interface API normally locked by the password protection. Example, harvesting data from Facebook using the Facebook API. An API is a software interface that makes it possible to extract data from one system and make it available into another system. The API makes it possible to collect data from a user's profile, which is then used to customize the application to the user, and to publish information about an application on the user's profile, such as news feed showing that one of your friends is playing a certain game or has run a certain number of kilometers. This data is recorded by an app and can be then shared with the user's Facebook friend, depending on the user's setting, such as privacy setting. This slide lists out some advantages and disadvantages of harvesting via API. The advantages of the API: the entire content of the page is preserved. The developer over time is preserved. The data preserved are machine readables. The API provides access to data that would be otherwise be hidden, and the data can be handled or analyzed as a big data. But as a disadvantage, the original visual appearance of the element is not preserved, and it can be a mislead of the information there. Video cannot be played. Instead, links are provided to the live web. Stream content is not collected. The content that is linked to it is also not collected, and it also based on proprietary format, meaning that is not all content can be harvested via API. Web archiving via delivery from producer is a solution in which organization could have an agreement with owner of the website to provide material in the same way as with other form of material covered by legal deposit. Such an agreement could, for example, be utilized if web archive content wish to archive material from web radio station that are only available online, or where stream content presents a challenge for the harvester, or in relation to e-books on the web, etc. Nowadays, actually many more approach and technology that is embedded on the crawler and web archiving implementation. It varies by specific web archive service provider and platform that they use. After hearing to the explanation and description of web archiving, its basic concept, the types and approach, do you ever wonder why we should do web archiving process and start it immediately? So, let's we go to the last section, 1.4, why archive website? Nowadays, purpose of web archiving implementation have evolved and emerged. Each country has to secure valuable cultural and historical heritage exists on the web space. Web archive content also crucial for being captured as legislative evidence for business digital asset or even historical claims. Organizations also should secure social media content and other website story related to their organization as part of corporate and social memories, reputational digital cues, and digital born intellectual property. The web contents may not available currently and may be needed most in the future. This is crucial to strategize on web archiving implementation now for better of tomorrow. Hopefully, you all are able to recognize the basic concepts and methods related to web archiving. Thank you and see you all next time.